Welcome to Book World: The Grayscape. I'm author CJ Peterson. My co-host over here is author Michael Scott Clifton. Today we have a wonderful guest, Mr. John, if I can pronounce this correctly, Nustad.
Yes, you did. How y'all
Yay!
doing?
Of the Longview Book Club. We will get to him in just a minute. In the meantime, Mike, how was your week?
Great. Spoke to the Creative Writing Club at Lindale High School yesterday, and much thanks to Brandy Bridges, the teacher, who is the sponsor of the Creative Writing Club, and they've had some very inquisitive students, and they ask a lot of questions, and I could tell that they are much more familiar with the elements of writing than one might expect. And it was had a blast, and showed them books. We talked about writing. We talked about things to avoid, passive voice versus active voice. Tried not to spend too much time on the boring particulars, but they ask a lot of questions, and I really appreciated the opportunities to speak with them. Also got to meet with an old friend of mine, Jim Ritchie, who is chairman of the humanities department, I think now at TJC, and he used to be at Chapel Hill. We were both there together. He coached there, and we taught together and coached together. And so it was wonderful seeing Jim and his wife Tony again, and but really had a great time. And the saying about how things comes in threes. So this week, speaking engaged, I spoke to the Creative Writing Club yesterday in Lindale. Tomorrow will be the Longview Art Walk, John, and then Saturday will be Dalton Days.
Oh, wow.
Patty Wiseman, fellow authors Patty Wiseman, I believe Nancy Hudgens, will all be at the Vera Bank lobby tomorrow from 5 till 8 in the historic downtown region of Longview. And then that's also where Dalton Days will be held on Saturday. I believe that's from 10 to 4. I believe that's right. And they will do the reenactment of the bank robbery, which they do, I think, pretty much every year. We've been the last 4 or 5 as vendors. It's always a great time, and weather looks like it's going to cooperate too. So, like I said, after being in hibernation, except for one Comic-Con, you have all 3 of these things happen all within the space of the same week. But
I mean, it's a good problem to have.
It is. We're up for it.
Exactly. So Julie Brock is watching. Hey, Julie, from Facebook. So for me, we're reaching the end of the first semester of college. I am taking 15 credit hours, and so it's been fun. I'm enjoying it. I'm loving every minute of it. It's a little hectic, but things are going. And we lost John. We'll have to wait till he pops back in here. But in the meantime, I do have a Comic-Con coming up in the first weekend of. Okay, John's back. Hi, John.
There you go. I don't know what happened.
I don't
Hello.
either. The first weekend in May
Right.
is the Longview Comic-Con. It's now also known as the East Texas Comic-Con. It's going to be in Longview, so you can look it up on Facebook as East Texas Comic-Con. I believe Mike is going to be there.
Yep.
I will be running around on the floor like I usually am, running the Comic-Cons. So you can catch me. If you want my books, make sure to let me know, and I can bring them for you, especially coming to East Texas, which is, my home turf. So loving that. And I cannot wait for that. There's some great guests that are going to be there, including one of my favorites, Kevin Sorbo. So I'm pretty excited. He'll get to be another Comic-Con that I help to run. So I'm excited for that. So that's, again, the first weekend in May. More details to come, but do not miss that. Let's see what else. I think that's about it. I have my summer and my fall schedule set up for college. It's going to be hectic but fun. Could be interesting. um, in the meantime, we have, like I said, Mr. John Newstead from the Longview Book Club. For those who are watching, the Longview Book Club's Facebook group link is going across the bottom of the screen, and it is also in the chat for those who are watching on YouTube. If you're watching on Facebook, it's going across the screen. Make sure to go in there and find them and follow them. John, can you tell us a little bit about Longview Book Club?
Yeah, Longview. Thanks for having me, by the way, CJ and Mike. And excited about what y'all have coming up and all the stuff that you're doing to promote. I saw Mike last year and Patty at the Dalton Days.
Hmm.
So I've seen y'all there. So y'all gonna be in the same location, I'm guessing, right? Since it's right there.
We'll be on the road
Okay.
next to the reenactment on Fredonia. Is that the
Yeah.
road? Yeah. Fredonia, yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, so yeah.
So a little bit different location. Better. It sounds like a better location.
Yeah.
Good. Awesome.
Sounds pretty central.
Yep.
That's where we were the last several years. And Patty and I, well, we're in bed. I don't know that Patty's going to be there. She might be. I know for a fact that she's going to be at the art walk tomorrow.
Okay.
So yeah.
Good. Yeah. So the Longview Book Club, it's a public book club. That's just basically the way I like to put it. It's Longview's. It's really Longview with apostrophe S book club. And so it's meant to be a resource as available for everybody to use. It can be you're promoting, your own personal book club through there. It can be you as an author promoting your books through there and where you're going to be and all those kind of things. And if I see an author sharing stuff like that, like if Mike's going to be somewhere like at the Art Walk or at the Dalton Days, and they're free to share that into the group. If I see it, I usually grab it and share it into the group as well. We have about 1,500 members in there, and these are your avid readers, people that are interested and like to read and want to stay up to date on what's going on in the reading world. So it's Longview's book club, but I call it Longview Book Club. But it's for everybody.
Now, we talked in the beginning, and you said initially the book club that you were in was nonfiction. Is this one fiction as well?
So this again, it's a Longview book club. So there's a bunch of different things that go in there. So right now we have 2 book clubs that we spotlight through there, which is the author spotlight, which is one that I actually lead on that one. The other one is the one with the bookstore that's there, Books and Barrels, that we utilize their venue. They have the Perfect Pair book club.
Mm-hmm.
And then we had a Longview Leaders book club for a while. And so it's in the Longview Leaders was more of the personal development focus type book club. The author spotlight is spotlighting authors, local authors. And that means authors that are either live in East Texas now or are from East Texas.
Right.
And that's what I define as local. And it's only non-children books in that one too. So we don't do any children books just because we do it in the evening, not really suitable for that audience. And then, so that's the different ways. Now, when I started the book club, my first book club was through the Young Professionals of Longview.
Mm-hmm.
And that book club that I led that one was purely, nonfiction, personal development, finance, things of my area of interest and expertise in that I like to do.
How did you get the idea to actually start it?
So one of the things was I'm a boomerang to East Texas. So I grew up and raised here in Longview, Gilmer area,
Mm-hmm.
and I was gone for I don't remember how many years now, 13 years maybe, maybe a little bit longer, and we were able to get back. And when we moved back, I didn't know anybody, and one of the ways that I'm most people are surprised, like I'm introverted. I'm not an extrovert. And so I like to have deeper, more meaningful conversations. So when we're having conversations with somebody and I'm networking or whatever the case is, and we start getting into books, then I'm like, oh, I can let's talk. Like I'm excited about that. And that's what excites me. And so my friends that I had were people that were also, avid readers, and we would share books to read and talk about them. And so when I attended a Young Professionals of Longview day, they had an education day, and they talked about one of their pillars is education.
Mm-hmm.
And Melanie Northcutt, who was over it, she was an avid reader, and she liked to read personal development, things like those type of books as well. And so I was like, I could fulfill this education pillar for you by doing a book club, and I get access to all the network through the Young Professionals of Longview that they already have. Since I don't know anybody, it's a great way for me to kind of to network, but to network on something that I enjoy.
That's
I'm not
really smart.
I'm not a
Oh,
happy
fun.
hour person. I don't care. And it's not,
Yeah,
and
but you're like thinking outside the box. So that
yes,
was brilliant.
how
Well
to
done.
create my own networking group that I would want to go to
Mhm.
and attend to. So
If you don't have the networking group there, create your own that you want.
yes,
So,
exactly. And utilize somebody else's network to
Mhm.
help build your network. So that's how it started, and that's the roots of it.
so John, y'all, we were visiting earlier, and your book club is sounds like it's non-traditional. You don't have to actually have read a book or a chosen book in order to attend the book club, correct?
Yeah, this current one is which is the author spotlight series that we do.
Mhm.
That one you don't have to read, so it is non-traditional. It's a kickoff is the way that I describe it, and it's meant to you don't have to read before you come. And there's a lot of advantages to that style of a book club, especially for a public book club. If you're a close knit group and it's like six of your closest friends that use it as a way to get connected, and you're gonna read the book because it's part of the way to like connect and get together and stuff like that. It's different. But when it's a public book club where there's no requirement to enter, you can just show up and come when you can and have that kind of deal. Having a requirement to read the book beforehand becomes a barrier to
Mhm.
people coming. And so the style of the kickoff helps eliminate that. But there's a lot of other benefits to it. So so one of the advantage of it is the fact that you don't have the barrier. The second advantage of it is with the author spotlight, it allows me to focus on multiple genres.
Mm-hmm.
So because if you're a romance novel or you're a romance genre, or if you're a science fiction, or
Mhm.
you're young adult or whatever that genre that you normally fit in, you're going to come to those authors maybe that fit your typical genre.
Right.
But this allows you to come, and it's just an enjoyable time with other like-minded friends and family and stuff like that, and you get to hear about the authors. And what happens from that is it opens up other genres and other areas that people normally would not have considered. But now they hear the author and like, oh man, I like what
Yeah.
Mike said. I'm going to start reading, science fiction. I'm going to do those kind of things. I'm going to check that out. And then they realize, oh, I really like that genre. So that's since we're not doing a genre specific book club, the kickoff style is better. The other reason is I'm trying to promote community,
Mhm.
and in that I want to promote downtown Longview. If I can, as much as I want to be able to support downtown Longview, and also I want to support a local small business. So we have a local bookstore that's independently owned there,
Yeah.
and if you require them to read beforehand, they may buy their book other means, right? But if you're doing it as a kickoff, they're more likely going to buy it at that bookstore
Mhm.
because now why buy it earlier and then have to remember to bring the book to get the author to sign it or I may not even know if interested in the book because I haven't read it and it's not my typical genre. So it allows people to get there, they listen to the author, and they like, what, I really like this person, I like this, I like that, I'm going to buy the book, I'm going to get the author to sign it. And then it helps promote local book sales as well on top of that with that style. So a lot more advantages I can get into probably with it, but those are the main three reasons to do a kickoff style book club.
And the
Okay.
bookstore is Books and Barrels, correct?
Books and Barrels, yes.
And
So
yeah.
I was gonna say, as an author, I have some questions.
Yeah.
So how does that look? Like, example, I have 19 novels. So is it I would just pick one and talk specifically about that book itself, or do you read a little bit of it? How does that work?
So I turn that over completely to the author,
Mhm.
and I let them decide how they want to promote their book, or how they want to promote their books or book. Like it's their choice.
Mhm.
Most of them will choose a certain book, and typically it's the latest book that they're wanting to promote. That's the normal way to do it. But I've had some people that I'm trying to think if it was Dana Wayne or
Mhm.
Peggy McKenzie, right? I can't remember which one it was, but they picked their most popular book, the one that ended up being that may be their gateway book, as I
Mhm.
would say. Like it's something that, hey, this one appeals to the greatest mass of audience.
Kind of like
And
a series, and it's like the beginning book sort of deal.
Possibly that too. If there's a series, they may recommend that, because you do have that situation where it is maybe on their second or third book in the series, but you really need to read it in chronological order or whatever the case is. So it's all based on the author. I am as hands off on that process. All I tell you is you show up at this time. I'm gonna do an introduction. I'm gonna turn it over to you. We'll have Q&A, and we're done at 6:30. This is, however you want to do it, which is absolutely cool because authors do different things.
Right.
Like, I mean, one author we had, she's a graphic artist. So she did like a huge, like nice presentation through graphics and had her artwork. And she showed how like her book, which is, in print, but she brings her art medium to it,
Right.
which created a whole new way to go about it. And then we had another one, which was actually a picture book, and it was a duo that did that. And they had a slideshow presentation to show the different pictures and the different parts of the book that they wanted to highlight. I remember over Mike's territory, Eric Staples with his book, his has like a martial arts he has a martial arts background.
Mm-hmm.
So he like demonstrated martial arts moves and showed how it worked within his stories and how that all came to be. And then you have your more traditional, where some may read an excerpt from there. I've had one do a portion of their audiobook because their audiobook was new. So they want to kind of show the audiobook off. And there was a bunch of different ways, and that they're leaving it open to the author, letting you show and speak to how you want the artist to experience, how you want the reader to experience it is as important, because part of the kickoff too, and part of just art in general, art is no longer static because of like we have technology right now. Like you can make it dynamic, and the dynamic piece shows like interesting things. Like, think of like somebody creating a painting, but they do a video showing you creating of the painting, or they write a poem, but then they tell you the backstory to the poem, and they let you know about the things. I call them Easter eggs. Like Amy, who we just had yesterday, there was some Easter eggs in there. Like every day was a new chapter in the book, because every day is a new chapter. And I'm like, that's just like smart.
That's brilliant.
And then another one, the one that was the graphic, she used words in her book to mimic the scene. So for instance, if she's running through the woods, you hear a like you're running, like, and so she used words that made the sound. So it's like but you would never know this unless you like heard it from the author first, and they made it dynamic. So
interesting.
Well, you have having done one of the presentations at the book club, it's very relaxed. And if you're an author, whether you've done plenty of presentations or just a few, I think that John, the Longview Book Club is it's laid back, and I mean that in a good sense. It's I really enjoyed it, and I really like the concept that you've described, particularly for authors presenting books, because I've known other book clubs, and my wife's been in part of a couple of them, and you're right. If you have to read a book, and the way a book club traditionally has been set up, so everybody reads the same book, then you have to discuss it at the next meeting. But half the time, you either haven't read the whole thing, or maybe you didn't even like it and you just stopped. So you're basically giving, from what I'm gathering from what you're saying, you're giving the author pretty much free rein to make a presentation in any way, shape, or fashion they would like to with any book, whether they have 1 or 100 that they've written, and just let them go with it. And, especially if you're a new author, I know Eric, was his first book. It can be a little intimidating if you've never really done something like that before. And to just be able to let your hair down, so to speak, and just go with the flow in your presentation, I think is great. And I like the concept, John, of how you set up the Longview Book Club. It's awesome.
I appreciate that. And that laid back approach is also, like you're saying, that's another key component of that, because a lot of these authors, they are first time authors. And a lot of times we're the first people that they actually kind of come talk about the book. I remember a doctor that we had who's extremely shy, and she was very nervous about it. And she came, and man, it was one of my favorite ones I've ever had. It was just fun. She did a fantastic job, but it helps you build that confidence up and like realize, oh wow, like this is, people want me to be successful. People want to encourage me and want to see that happen, and it's not a bunch of critics that are just sitting there, ready to find a reason to write harsh things about you or give you like it's not that case. So that's exactly what I'm trying to get accomplished. I'm glad to hear that. Thanks, Mike.
Well, a lot of the other book clubs that I'm familiar with, again, the people that are part of the book club, it's kind of like a closed circle. They prefer certain kind of books. They may not like the books that CJ writes or that I write. And by having kind of a wide open menu, if you want to call it that, for the Longview Book Club, the point you made about it exposes readers who may or may not like or ever read or were even familiar with a different genre, but the author's presentation may pique their interest and I think that's great, because I do think that traditional book clubs tend to look inward too much, and you don't have a wider variety of genres or books that really come up. It's romance, just mystery thrillers, but fantasy, science fiction, time travel, like in one of CJ's books that would never come up or never be a book that was picked to read.
Yes, my wife, for instance, Peggy McKenzie, right? So she writes like romance, Western type cowboy kind of thing. Not my wife's type of genre that she would read. She read it and loved it, and she's like scoured all the Peggy McKenzie. Like, so it does. That's the hope. Is it also opens your mind up to other possibility of genres that you can explore and enjoy as well.
You mentioned that it was a Books and Barrels in Longview, Texas. You never mentioned when and time wise.
So
What day and time?
first Tuesdays, 5:30. And another thing that I do unique to this is, so we're booked out for the rest of the year right now. We're fully booked on the authors, and people want to know who's next, right? So one of the things I tell people, I never promote the next author till after the first author till the one coming up has went, because I don't want to take any sort of the spotlight from that author. And they're like, oh, I'm not going to come to this one because I want to go to the next one. It's kind of like they start rationing, whatever it may be, or maybe they start talking about that. And it kind of came up when I had, a very well-known author that came, and if I would have announced that author before, the next one, it would have just got drowned out in the other ones. So that's when I decided, and it happened early on. I was like, I'm not going to promote any authors or tell anybody who they are until after the last one has went, because it is about that specific author and I don't want to take away from it. So you got to follow the Longview Book Club page, and I usually start promoting it about two weeks out, because that tends to be, if I do it a full month out, it ends up getting watered down. I haven't noticed me marketing it longer that it actually affects the attendance. So 2 weeks tends to be the window.
So do you market the other author for those 2 weeks?
So, for instance, we just finished with Amy McCarty. So I marketed her for 2 weeks before the event. Now the next author, I'll wait till we're 2 weeks till the next one, which will be May, the first Tuesday in May. Okay. Then 2 weeks out, I'll start before that one. I'll start marketing that one. Okay. So 2 weeks tends to be the spot where I get the best return for my investment in time for marketing it. Okay. And also, I'm not annoying people too much about that. So
we have about 5 minutes left. If you would give advice to somebody who maybe wants to start their own book club, what would it be?
So on the book club, what I would say, if you want to start the book club, do like I did. If you don't have a network of your own, and it depends on your objective. If you just want to do it with your close friends, it's pretty simple. You can just schedule a time. But if you want to do something more, like turn it into a networking thing, to meet people and do the kinds of things, I would try to plug into another group that will allow you to access their network to help build that up, and help them satisfy. Like, I went into it as, hey, y'all want to feel education as your pillar. Let me help you do that. And in turn, that's how that went. And then if you're going to do, the other part of it is you've got to utilize social media. You got to use technology. You have to put that out there. For me, like, I'm not a self promoter. Like, mine is all about the person that I'm doing, which helps. It helps to get when your why is not for serving yourself, but it's to serve others, and your purpose is stronger. It's easier to do some of the actions that you normally wouldn't do. As I mentioned, I'm introverted. Like, that to me is not the thing, but now it's tied to a why. It's tied to a deeper purpose. It allows me to kind of go through that. The other thing that I would say is, and this is with anything, is, if you're trying to measure, I have a thing that I always tell people, behaviors plus processes equal results. Okay. Don't focus on the results, because you're going to get dissatisfied very quickly. If you're caring about how many followers you have, how many likes and comments and shares and all those kind of things, those results, you're going to miss the mark. Focus on the behavior and the processes that drive the results, and focus on those. So one thing I tell authors all the time is, like, and a lot of them, what I would recommend to authors too, and people building book club, is utilize and understand that the book club meeting is just for you to get content. That's it. The 5 people in the room, the 20 people in the room, the 50 people in the room, the 100 people in the room, does not matter. That is irrelevant. What you want is the content to come from that. So an example of that is after every book club meeting, I will do a video, and post it on social media and share it out. I get over 3,000 views on every single one of those.
What's the reel?
The reel is just a recap of the meeting, just like just me taking videos of the meeting and then reposting on there. You can see them on the book club. Over 3,000 views on that. So, okay, you have 15 people there, but you had 3,000 people watch the video afterwards. That's what's important. That's your reach. The one famous person I had, like, we had over 800 people attending it live. Like, we couldn't even fill my cob probably if we wanted to do that. So don't worry about the people in the room. It's you learning. It's you able to learn how to publicly speak. It's you learn how to craft and tell your story, how to get that through. Kind of like a comedian. Like, you got to kind of put it out there and feel it and see how the audience reacts to it. It's all to help you build the content and to hone it in. Don't worry about the people. Try to go like Mike does. And Patty, like, go to everything you can, help hone those skills and get that talent, but use it to create content. If you're not creating content with it, you're really missing the wider audience from it. So those are the things that I would say that you need to do to create a successful book club.
Well, great. Well, thank you, sir. I appreciate you coming. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns regarding Longview's book club, make sure to head over to their Facebook page, and I'm sure they can message you from there, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you, John, for coming.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mike, something you forgot to mention that you have coming up at the end of April, speaking of getting content out, is
Yeah, the Northeast Texas Writers Organization's Spring Writers Conference, and Mike Wigington is going to be one of the speakers. Lyra Brannon, we know her as Lisa Simmons.
CI Chevron.
CI Chevron. Yep, CI Chevron. And myself will be presenting at our annual spring conference. We'll also be announcing the winners of our first chapter contest, and that is always something you look forward to. I've ran that for the last 3 or 4 years, and passed the baton on this time around somebody else. But yeah, we always have a good time. It'll be at the Northeast Texas Community College community room, I believe. It's not hard to get to once you get there. And you can register by going to the Northeast Texas Writers Organization website. It's netwo.org. And there's a link to the registration to the Writers Conference. So basically, you just click on the link and follow the instructions. And anyway, I'll be talking about using the moniker CJ that you helped me with, journey into magic and mystery. And we'll be talking about how you use magic. My part of it would be how you use magic in a story and all the elements that go with that. So looking forward to it.
Awesome.
That's
Well,
good.
again, thank you, John, for coming and joining
Thank
us.
you. Yes.
Yeah, thank you for having me so much. I appreciate it.
So Longview Book Club, look on my Facebook. Their Facebook group link is across the bottom of this, or it's in the comments on YouTube as well. Next week, we're going to be talking about using humor in fiction, which is kind of one of my favorites because I'm a bit of an Irish Texan and I have a little bit of that sarcastic streak that I often use in my books. So I love adding humor to fiction. And I think it's a definite, as we talked about before. If I can make you laugh and cry in the same book, then I've reached my goal.
Yes.
So we'll talk more about humor and fiction next week at 4 o'clock, same time, same station you found us today. We'll catch you next week. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank y'all.